Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, The Upper Hand. If you've been following us over the last few weeks, you've noticed we've been doing a lot of standardized assessment videos. Today we'll be continuing on with that, and we're going to be covering the Minnesota Manual Dexterity Test.
Yeah, so this assessment's a little less common. It's not as commonly seen as some of the other ones, but it's a really useful assessment, especially in a work hardening setting or when assessing some kind of job-related functioning. It's not that complicated though, and stick with us because we're going to cover all the main aspects of how to administer that, so let's jump right in. Okay guys, so to place the pieces, you're going to have all the chips inserted into the holes like this, and you're looking at it from the client's point of view. So I'm the examiner, so I'm going to take all these chips, slide them about 10 inches in from the edge of the table. Once I have them all set here, you have to lift the board off the pieces and then place the board closest to the client, and you want the board ended up being about an inch from the edge of the table. So this is the view that the client would have that you're seeing right now. Okay, so now that we have the board set up and the pieces set up where we want them, we're going to go ahead into how to instruct the client. So I would instruct the client that they're performing this test to see how fast they can place these chips into the holes accurately. And so it's a speed test, and just let them know that this is to assess their dexterity. Also, when you're letting them know this is a speed-based test, that they should probably use their dominant hand because they're going to want to go as fast as possible. Okay, so for the placing test, which is the initial test we typically perform, they're going to be placing these chips into the hole starting on the top right side. And so they're going to use, in Parker's case, for demonstration purposes, we would use his right hand so that you can see it well. So he would take his right hand and he would place this bottom chip into the top hole, and then he's going to place the next chip, second chip, into the next to the top hole, and so on and so forth until you have a complete column. And so then when that column is complete, you go to the next column. Bottom chip into the top hole, second chip into the second hole, third chip into the third hole, just as you see me perform it here. Now keep in mind that I'm the examiner, and when I'm doing it backwards, but I'm doing it so that it makes sense to the client from their orientation. And so I'm going to set these back out, and if you want to, it's permitted by the manual to allow the examinee to have a practice run at it, and you can assist them during the practice trial just so that they're familiar with what to do. And then when they've practiced and they feel good about it, you're going to go ahead and instruct them to start at the top right side. And so you instruct them to go ahead and put their dominant hand on the first chip, and then you say ready, go. And when they take the test and you record it, the time, you're going to start the timer as soon as they place the first chip, and then you're going to stop the timer as soon as the last chip is placed into the last hole. All the chips have to be completely in the holes. You have to tell the client that there cannot be one left out. Before you can stop the timer, they have to be all snapped in, and then we're going to talk a little bit more in a few minutes about how to record your score. So we're going to go ahead and administer this test with Parker. All right, go ahead and place your hand on the first chip, Parker. Ready? Go. As you can see, he's working from the right side towards the left side, one column at a time. All right, and so we'll go ahead and jump in really quick and talk about scoring. So Parker was able to place all the pieces into the slots in 54 seconds. So I would record that as 54 seconds. If he had gone over a minute, you still record it in seconds. So if he had placed all the pieces in 1 minute 10 seconds, you record it on the score sheet or wherever you're putting the data in as 70 seconds. It's always in seconds. Another thing is the manual recommends that you perform multiple trials just to increase the validity of the scoring. Typically in our clinic we perform 1 to 2 trials just because we're more on time restricted. If you have the time, you can perform multiple trials, and the one catch is if you have the patient perform more than one trial, and say for example Parker scored 60 seconds on the first one, 60 seconds on the second trial, his score would be 120. if you start to perform multiple trials, your composite score is just the sum of all the seconds it took to perform all the trials. So just keep that in mind when you're scoring. Okay, so the second test we're going to talk about is the turning test. And so it's a little different than the placing test in that you don't remove the board from the pieces. You actually leave all the chips in the board, and you slide the board with the pieces in close to the client, and you leave it about an inch from the edge of the table, so you're looking at it again from the point of view of the client. So this is how the board would be set up, and you're going to instruct them that this test is to assess how quickly they can flip and place the pieces back into the board. Just give a quick description of what they're going to be doing and let them know, remind them that this is a time test, so they should move as quickly as possible. So this is different in the other test also in that they don't necessarily always lead or use their dominant hand, and this is what I mean by that. So with this test, they're going to be turning all the pieces and placing them back in the board just like that. So initially you want all the pieces to be one color, either red or black, just so they're all uniform. And so just for example, they're all red, and so you're going to instruct the client that they're going to start turning the pieces at the top right corner. This is the top right corner of the board for the client, and they're going to start here and work their way to the left all the way to the end of the first row on the left side, and they're going to hop down to the second row and work back towards the right. When they finish flipping and replacing on the second row, they're going to hop down and go on the third row and work from right to left, and again they're going to hop down and work from left to right on the last row. Okay, and so you're going to also instruct the client that they should pick up the piece with their leading hand, and this is what I mean by that. So they're going to start on the top right side of the board. They're going to be working, as I said, from right to left, and so they're going to have to pick up the first piece with their left hand, their leading hand it off to the right hand, and flip it and place it. Pick up with left, flip with right and replace. Pick up with left, flip it with the right and replace it down. So they're working and leading with their left hand because they're working to their left, right? Picking up with left, flipping it with the right, placing it down. Okay, now that they're at the end of the first row, they're hopping down to the second row. Now they're going to pick up with the right hand and give it to the left hand and flip it and place it. Right hand picks up, give it to the left, flip and place. Like that. Alright, all the way across. And of course, as the examiner, you're having to kind of do this backwards. But make sure to tell them which hand they should be using. Now that they're at the end of the second row, they're going to hop down to the third row, leading again with the left hand and giving it to the right. Right flips it and places it. So the goal is to flip these, replace them into the slots as quickly as possible. Alright, now we're on the last row. They're going to lead with their right hand and they're going to hand it to their left hand. Flip it and place it. And your timer or your stopwatch is going to stop as soon as the last chip is clicked into place, which is right now. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of how to administer the Minnesota Manual Dexterity Test. We started with the placing test and went through the instructions for the turning test. I will say that with scoring, typically at our clinic, we just record the seconds that it took the client to perform the test. If you need to look into more comparative scoring like percentiles or things like that, or converting to a raw score or a standard score and things of that nature, there is a chart in the back of the Minnesota manual, the actual instruction manual that comes with it, that you can refer to for that, or you could search online and probably find those conversion charts as well. Like I said, we typically just record the straightforward seconds that it took the client to perform the test, and most of the time that's the data that's most pertinent that you'll need.
So yeah, we talked all about how to use this as an assessment, but you know, if you have a patient coming in and you know you're not going to use this assessment with them, you know, by all means feel free to use this as an activity. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can grade this up or down to work on some fine motor task or fine motor activity that they need work on. So that's just another way that you could utilize this in your clinic setting. Hey guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. We hope you learned something today and that this was helpful to you in some way.
So you know, our goal for this channel, The Upper Hand, is to give you guys the upper hand as you seek to better understand conditions of the upper extremity and just all topics related to occupational therapy in general.
So please take a second out of your day, make sure you like this video and subscribe to this channel so that you can be sure that you're going to see all of our upcoming videos. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.